Well, for those of you that are new and those of you that are catching up on this after with the video, welcome to the Pink Moon Circle. So it's pink full moon on Thursday. So over the course of the next 6 weeks, we're going to do 6 different practices. They're all completely different. They all have an entirely different intention depending on where we are in the season, where we are in the calendar, and just to make sure that we're covering all aspects of female health as well. So every practice is going to be different. There will always be a different theme, but there's always something that they have in common, which is making sure we support female health and giving you the opportunity to tap into what is your divine feminine energy. So just a couple of things before we start, just that I wanted to go through. I would highly encourage you to turn your mobile phone completely off, or at least put it on silent, and just let yourself have an hour entirely to yourself. How often do you do that with no distraction whatsoever? So notifications aren't there, because even if you're not physically looking at your phone, those notifications are going to draw your attention and your awareness away from yourself and towards something else. So if you can, I would definitely turn your phone off. I'm going to ask you to keep your mics muted. They should all be muted, but if for whatever reason you do accidentally turn your microphone on, please don't worry, it's absolutely fine. I'm just going to ask that you turn that off for me, just because there's a bit of a walk between the mat and the laptop. And then what I'd also encourage, I know this is going to be really hard for some of you at home, with family, with children, with pets around, but if you can, I would reduce the amount of noise, chaos, distraction, everything that you've got going around you as much as you possibly can. But again, I appreciate that's not always going to be possible for a lot of us anyway. I would also encourage you to make sure you stay warm to start off with. Whenever you do yoga, you're better off being warm than you are being cold. If you're cold, you're more likely to put yourself in a position of getting an injury. Doesn't mean you have to be red hot, but what I would do is start with lots of layers on. It's easier to take them off. So just make sure you keep your body warm for me as well. So whenever you do any sort of practice with me, what I always want to encourage you to do is listen to your own body. Nobody knows your body better than you. I don't. You know your body better. So as we're going through the different postures, really try and tune into how things feel for you. There's no perfect in yoga. There's always ways to progress, and I want you to try and view this as an ongoing journey rather than you're either good at it or you're bad at it. There's no such thing as that in yoga. So it's an ongoing journey, and what I want you to do is just meet yourself exactly where you are right now. That is what is perfect. However you have turned up today is perfect. So try and come into your practice with a sense of self-compassion, a little bit of softness and a bit of kindness towards yourself. If there's things you feel like you can't do, that's absolutely fine. There's loads of things in yoga that I can't do either, and that is okay. So something that I always encourage my students to do, and my coaching clients as well, is to find the line between force and effort, which is actually something that I took from yoga and applied to everything else in life. So we don't ever want to force your body into a position that it doesn't want to go into. Yoga isn't about being in pain. It's not about being in discomfort. So try not to force your body to go somewhere that it doesn't want to go, but it's also about applying just a little bit of effort so that you are on that progressive journey as well. Be patient with yourself. Be super, super patient. And like I say, if there's things you can't do, it's okay. There's options for absolutely everything. Be patient with me. Sometimes I get my left and my right confused. And then sometimes we have glitches with the technology as well. So I'm just going to politely ask that you're patient with both me and the technology as well, just in case. Hopefully we'll be okay. Anyway, so welcome to your first practice. This is our pink full moon practice. So whenever we do a full moon practice, we always want to invoke a sense of release, a sense of letting go, anything that's been holding us back over the last month. We try and encourage ourselves to completely release and let that go. So physically within our postures, we're going to do a lot of hip openers and a lot of twists, which are amazing for helping the body to release any emotions that aren't serving us, but also physically for detoxing the body as well. With it being the pink full moon as well, it's really significant because it's a drastic seasonal change. We're going from that darkness of winter. This is the time to completely let that go. And we're going to allow ourselves to step into spring with new energy, new space, and just ignite that sense of revival. So that's sort of what this practice is all about this evening. We have got a lot of somatic movements in there as well, which are really good for resetting your nervous system, really helps you to really get that sense of letting go as well. So when we get to those parts in your practice, I'm going to invite you to go for it, put as much into those parts as much as you possibly can. And then if you've received my emails over the last couple of days, I did send you all how to do a block burning ritual as well, which is perfect for full moon. And just in case you need a little reminder, super quickly, very, very simple. All you do is write everything down that you feel is not serving you at the moment, that's holding you back, that's maybe blocking you from moving forwards. Might be different emotions that you have at the moment that are not helping you or are just not serving you in any sort of way. It might be specific people, it might be different habits that you've got, different behaviors that you keep repeating, or specific situations. Anything that you feel at the minute is holding you back and that you just really, really want to let go of, write it all down on a piece of paper, fold that piece of paper up, and then just put it over a candle flame and just watch it disintegrate into the air. And then the ashes, you can either put in a fireproof little container. So I have a proper little bowl. Just make sure, so just health and safety disclaimer, please don't set your house on fire. I'd really be grateful if you didn't do that, but just make sure you dispose of your ashes really, really safely. Okay. So when you're ready, we're going to start our practice, and I'm going to invite you to come into a meditation posture. So whenever you do your meditation with me, you don't have to sit cross-legged. If you feel comfy like this, that's okay. Bring yourself into a cross-legged posture. Sometimes you might feel more comfortable if you sat up on a cushion, so you can either tuck that underneath your bum. That's going to help you to open your hips out a little bit more. So if you are quite tight in your hips, you might feel a little bit better sat on a cushion or a pillow or a yoga block if you've got one. If that's not an option for you, you can sit yourself down with your feet tucked behind. That's okay too. And if none of those options are okay for you, you are more than welcome to lay down flat on your back. So whenever you do your practice with me, it's all about taking stress away from the body, not creating it. So if you feel really uncomfortable cross-legged, you don't have to sit like that, okay? And that's the same with every practice that we do. So however you feel the most comfortable. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. So gently closing your eyes. Just taking a couple of seconds to settle into your body. And sometimes we have to consciously be aware of how we work with our attention. So give yourself just a couple of seconds. All that external world, we're going to leave where it is. So whatever's happened already today or what happened yesterday, we're going to leave the past where it is. Whatever we're anticipating happening later tonight or tomorrow, we're going to leave that in the future and leave that where it is. Imagine a wave of softness coming the whole way through your body. If you can, relax into your shoulders, relax around your jaw, even let your tongue relax within your mouth. If you're able to, allow your hips to relax, allow your feet and your ankles to relax as well. Any tension in the tummy, we can let that go as well. So even though we've added that sense of softness into the body, we're still going to maintain an active spine. Imagine you're pushing your tailbone down into the floor, almost as if you're plugging your root in. Following your vertebrae, one at a time, traveling up through your spine. When you get towards your heart and your sternum, I want you to lift all the way up through your chest. You're creating as much room to breathe as you possibly can. Shoulder blades and collarbones spread out to the sides. And then lifting from the crown of your head. Just acknowledging the weight of your body on your mat. The space that you find yourself in, where you're positioned within the room that you're meditating, doing your practice in this evening. Once we feel like we've tuned into the body, we'll start to tune in towards our own breath. Starting to breathe with a little bit of intention. Whenever I say breathing with intention, what I mean is adding a little bit of length to your breath. So making your inhalation, making your exhalation just a little bit longer. Take your time and slow it right down. And also thinking about the depth of your breath. See if you can take that inhalation from your chest all the way down into the depths of your belly. And on your exhale, completely emptying the body. And then our breathing exercise that we're going to do this evening is something called a lunar breath. So completely calming and soothing for the body, shifting your nervous system from a sympathetic to a parasympathetic state. Taking the tip of your tongue and just placing it very softly on the back of your two front teeth. Just creating a little space between your top lip and your bottom lip. Just continue to inhale normally, but as you exhale, I want you to imagine you're making a th sound, a TH sound. Keeping the tip of the tongue on the back of the teeth, little space between both lips, just making that TH sound as you exhale. Just noticing how your exhalation is now extended a little bit longer. How the body naturally wants to inhale again. Just staying with that cycle of breath, soft on your inhalation, that TH the sound on your exhalation. Now whilst you sit with your lunar breath, I'm going to invite you to bring to the forefront of your mind anything you can think of that you want to let go this month and this change of season from winter into spring. What do you feel like's not serving you anymore? What's standing in your way? What's blocking you from progressing? What negative energy do we have around us that's stopping us from being our truest, most authentic, highest versions of ourselves? What habits do we need to let go of? What emotions do we need to let go of? Any resentment or anger, bitterness, any shame, any guilt? We have specific people that we need to completely let go of, specific situations that we want to let go of. Just staying with the lunar breath, but bringing to the forefront of the mind whatever it is that you can think of. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's only a right for you. What do you want to let go of this evening? Closing our meditation practice, taking a big deep breath in through your nose. As you exhale, I want you to let a big sigh out. Give yourself that complete sense of letting go. You can add a softness into the body. Big sigh out. And again, big deep breath. When you're ready, in through your nose. Our intention for our practice today is to give yourself the sense of letting go, the sense of release. and creating space for new energy, new things to come in. So bringing that, whatever it was, that thing that you've brought to the forefront of your mind, what do we want to let go of? The first thing that we're going to start with today, so feel free to open your eyes for me, guys. We're going to start with a little somatic therapy, a little somatic movement. And all I'm going to ask you to do is to slam your hands down on the floor as hard as you possibly can. If you have people in your house, if you're upstairs and you've got people downstairs, don't worry, you can just do it very lightly on the tips of your fingers. It's exactly the same, but I feel like if you can really go for it, you're going to feel a little bit better. We're going to do 50 in a row. I will start and then you can join in when you feel ready. I'm going to count you down, 5, 4, 3, 2, stop. On the stop, I want you to pause and give yourself that sense of release, that complete contrast between activity and stillness. When we come to that stillness, just come back to your lunar breaths. Your lunar breath we're going to repeat throughout your practice this evening. So stop and then breathe for me. So when you're ready, you can join in. Take a big deep breath in through your nose. Exhale. So as hard as you possibly can, pressing down through the palms of your hands. And I'm going to count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, stop. Close your eyes if that feels best for you. Just let yourself breathe. So you might feel like you've got a little bit of activity in your arms and your nervous system especially already. So just let yourself pause, breathe, and I really want you to try and create that contrast between the two. So we're going to do that again, taking a big deep breath in through your nose. And exhale when you're ready, you can join in with me. If you can go a little bit harder, I'm going to encourage you to go as hard as you can through the palms of your hands. So we're waking up your nervous system. Counting you down in 5, 4, 3, 2, stop. Complete sense of stillness. Just let yourself breathe. Promise, after you finish this practice today, you are going to feel absolutely amazing. So we're going to begin our practice from here. Take a big deep breath in. As you exhale, drop your chin down onto your chest. Keep rolling through your spine. So you're going to squeeze down into your belly. On the inhale, lifting up tall from the crown of your head. So on that exhale, dropping your chin down into your chest, all the way down, and then inhale, leading with the crown. So we've got the stretch on your tummy here. Exhale, we've got the squeeze down on your belly from there. So full moon practice is best time to do anything that's good for detoxing the body. Inhale, leading through the crown of your head, lifting up through heart center. Exhale, drop your chin down onto your chest and coming all the way down. A couple of more breaths here, starting to make that movement a little bit bigger, a little bit more fluid through your spine. So you always have complete expressive freedom in my practices. There's no rigidity here. Exhale, relax and come back into the center. Take a big deep breath in. Palms up and over your head. Squeeze your palms together. Squeeze all of your fingertips together. This is going to help to activate your pelvic floor. Inhale, reach up into your fingertips. As you exhale, take a little lean over to the right hand side and then look underneath your left arm. Now, making sure we keep this left hip down towards the ground. You're naturally going to want to lift that knee and lift your left bum cheek up and off the floor. Try and keep it down for me. So reaching into fingertips. Take this top off because it's a little bit, can't see me. So whenever I say intentional through your fingertips, what I mean is I want you to imagine you're trying to touch your fingertips to the wall, to the ceiling. Rather than being floppy and soft, really intentional, reach into fingertips. As you exhale, dropping down through your right hand, coming into a full side bend. Keep your eye gaze underneath your left arm, and again, keep that left knee, left hip down towards the floor. So feel free to follow all of the breathing instructions if you want to, but if you feel like at any point you need to breathe, that is okay. Drop your left hand down across your right knee and reach as far away as you possibly can. So sometimes when you get used to doing things online as well, you might feel like It's a little bit awkward looking up at the screen, looking down towards your mat, looking at your own body. That's okay. I promise you'll get used to it. And then coming all the way back into center, palms together. So back where we started. Inhale, reaching up through fingertips, squeeze your palms, squeeze your fingertips together. And then exhale, take a little side bend over to the left-hand side. This time looking underneath your right arm. And this time keeping that right bum cheek, right knee down towards the floor. Let the left hand come all the way down to your mat, all the way over into a full side bend. So you can use this left hand to press down into the floor as well. That's going to help to keep your hips square onto the ground. Let the right hand release, reach down towards your mat and as far away from your body as you possibly can. You might feel like you've got a nice release around your lower back here. And then inhale, coming back into center and placing your hands in front of your chest. Into Anjali Mudra or prayer. Interlace your fingers, place your palms up towards the ceiling, inhale. So pressing your tailbone down, creating as much length in your spine as you possibly can. So the root goes down towards the earth, palms come up towards the sky. Take a big deep breath in. As you exhale, give your hands a shake them all the way down to the floor for me. And again, placing your hands into prayer, interlace your fingers. Inhale, palms up to ceiling. So making your body as long as you possibly can, opening up through your chest. On your next exhale, give your hands a shake all the way down to the floor. So this is another somatic movement. I want you to shake your arms as much as you possibly can. We're going to do that one more time. Interlace your fingers. Inhale, palms up to ceiling. Make your body long, make your body tall. So if we looked at you from the side, we've almost got a little arch through your back here to open right up through the center of your chest. On your next exhale, give yourself a big shake. Shake your hands all the way down for me. Perfect. And then just give yourself a little wiggle and a shake. We're going to take this right knee out, bring it all the way down. So now we've got the sole of your left foot meeting the top of your thigh on the right leg. So you just angle in one foot at a time. We're going to go into a little spine mobilizer. Starting in the center, inhale. As you exhale, we're going to take a little twist over to the left-hand side. And again, trying to keep both sit bones down onto the ground. We're just going to warm your body up nice and slowly, coming back into the center, inhale. As you exhale, taking a twist, turn over to the right-hand side. And if you feel like you're sort of relaxed into one hip, see if you can get both sit bones, both bum cheeks down on the floor equally. And then coming back into center. Perfect. Keeping the right hand down, inhale, bringing the left arm up and overhead, all the way over back into a side bend. So you can come as far down towards the floor as feels comfortable for you, but what I want you to concentrate more on is that rotation and open of your chest. So rather than coming further down but compressing through your rib cage, keep your rib cage open and come a little bit higher. All the way into center, the left hand down to the ground this time. Inhale, give yourself a push. Do a very gentle hip opener. We're just going to push your hips up and off the floor. Left hand down onto the ground. That right arm all the way up and overhead. Now, if you give your right bum cheek a little squeeze, it's going to push your hip a little bit further through. And then let your hips come down to the ground, right hand down to the ground as well. We're going to go into gate pose from here. So fingertips out in front. We'll keep the left knee, left shin, left foot down onto the ground and extending your right leg out to the side. Push into the outside edge of your foot. So you've got your right little toe is what is keeping you anchored. Try and straighten this knee if you possibly can. And this left leg's creating a nice 90-degree angle for me. Inhale, arms up and overhead. So again, make that reach super intentional. Exhale, over to the right-hand side. The right hand to come down the right leg. You can go anywhere that feels comfortable for you, just as long as you don't press on your knee joint. So little rule for you, never pull or push on a joint. And again, chest rotated, look up towards the ceiling. Inhale, come into the center, arms up and overhead. As you exhale, drop the left hand down towards the ground. So we're going all the way over to the opposite side this time. So we're coming into another variation of a gate pose from here. We've got a nice straight line from the left wrist all the way up to the left shoulder. Nice straight line from the right foot all the way along the side of the body into the right fingertips. If you do want to go further, you can shift your weight into your left hand and lift your right toe up and off the floor. If that still feels okay for you and you want to go a little bit further still, you can kick your right heel in towards your right glute, kick your right hand around your right ankle, and come into a half bow. If you're coming into a half bow, try not to pull your heel in towards your body. You're going to push the top of your foot into your hand. Ooh. So tricky little balance posture. If you don't feel like that's in your practice, that's okay. You can either stay down on the ground or come into that variation with your toe lifted. And just hold that there, big deep breath. Good, release the foot if the foot is lifted. And then everybody come down to the ground. We're going to repeat all of that on the opposite side. So sitting your hips back down onto your mat. This time we've got the sole of the right foot on the outside of your left thigh. Excuse me. Inhale through the center. Exhale, take a little turn over to the right hand side. So this time just doing our spine mobilizer all the way down on the left. Inhale back into center. Exhale. This time turning over to the left. Making sure both sit bones stay down on the ground. And then back into the center. That left hand to reach out to the left hand side of your mat. Inhale the right arm up and overhead and exhale into a side bend. Eye gaze underneath, looking up towards the ceiling. All the way through center, arms up and overhead. Inhale. As you exhale, right hand down to the ground. Press through your palm, lift your hips and reach up into your left fingertips. So the firmer you press down into your right hand, the further forward you're going to push through your hips. Give your left bum cheek a little squeeze this time. That's going to take your hip a little bit further forward. Inhale first. And then exhale, sit the hips back down onto the ground. Fingertips out in front, ready for gate pose on the right hand side. So rested on the right knee, the right shin, the right foot, and extending the left leg out to the side. So your toes are pointing forward, same direction as your head, and pressing into the outside edge of your foot. Arms up and overhead, so creating that 90-degree angle on this supporting leg here. Exhale, let the left hand drop down the left leg, eye gaze underneath your arm and reaching into right fingertips. So again, when I say make this intentional, instead of being sort of soft in the upper body, I want you to really press into fingertips. That's going to help to open all of this side of the body. Hand wherever it wants to go on the left leg, as long as it doesn't press on the knee. Keeping the hips pushed forwards as well. Inhale through the center, arms up and overhead. Keep going. Exhale, let the right hand come down to the ground, straight line from shoulder to wrist. And then the left arm up and overhead. So again, the firmer you press down into your right palm, the more you're going to be able to push your hips forward. Feel free to stay there, or we can shift your weight into your right hand and lift your left leg parallel to the floor if we can. And again, if we want to go further, kick the heel in towards the glute, take hold of your ankle and come into half bow, pressing the top of your foot into your hand. Just see how you feel today. Some days you feel different to others as well. Also depends on your hormones. We're generally more flexible when we're in our ovulation phase. Good, release your foot. Coming into a modified gate pose. Bring the left hand down onto the ground, turn and face the floor, hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, and into cat pose. So cat pose is a really good posture to find how you naturally tilt your pelvis. Everybody tends to go one way or the other. If you're like me, you tend to have more of an anterior tilt, so it's easier for you to come down into a cow pose. For some people, they have a posterior tilt, so you feel more comfortable in a cat pose. So just make tiny little micro movements, move your tailbone from one to the other. Because whenever somebody says find your neutral, everybody's different. Find a neutral posture. We're all completely different. There's only neutral for you. So after you've done a couple of movements, lifting your tailbone and bringing it back down, see if you can get your spine straight and bring yourself into your neutral. Your fingers completely spread out, press down through your palms, and then I want you to imagine you're squeezing your inner thighs together. So we've got your knees underneath your hips, but I want you to give yourself the feeling of squeezing thighs together. So taking a big deep breath in as you do, dropping your tummy down towards the floor, eye gaze forward, your head is an extension of your spine. So we don't want to completely crane into your neck and look to the ceiling, just look forward for me. And then as you exhale, pull your belly button in towards your spine and up towards the ceiling, big round through your back this time. Spreading your shoulder blades across your back. So just moving through cats and cows. Through the center, inhale, all the way back into cow pose. So we don't have to make this too deep. Again, you just go to wherever feels best for you. And I want you to think more about the stretch on your tummy than you are the bend in your back. As you exhale, pull your belly button in towards your spine, round through your chest, and tuck your chin down. Again, keeping that activation of inner thigh, really good for your pelvic floor. Back into center one more time. Inhale into cow pose. Drop your tummy down towards the ground, look forwards. If you do want to deepen this here, I want you to dig down into the bottom of your palms and imagine you're dragging them in towards your knees. So your shoulders are away from the ears. Exhale, pull your belly button all the way into spine. Big round through the top of your back. Pull your pelvic floor up and in. Tuck your chin down onto your chest. And then come back into the center and just give yourself a little wiggle from side to side. So again, as much freedom in your practice as you want. You don't have to be rigid in my class. That's absolutely fine. Extend your right leg out to the back for me into what we call a half bird dog. So keeping the right hip down towards the ground. This time trying not to arch or bow through your back too much. I want you to flex your right foot, push through your heel and engage your right glute for me. Take a nice big deep breath in. As you exhale, bring your knee in towards your chest. Go as close towards your hands as you possibly can. We're then going to take the outside of the right foot to the outside of your left leg. So you're going to cross it all the way up and over. Keep going with your hips and let yourself sink back like you would in a child's pose. You're almost in like a variation of a shoelace pose, but just reaching through your fingertips as well. Little combination of shoelace and child. And hopefully you've got a nice length down the side. You can feel that through your hip, feel that through your glute. Coming back into the center, bring your knee back into your chest, and then go all the way back into cat pose. We'll do that on the opposite side. Inhale, extending the left leg, flex into your foot, squeeze into your glute. So again, trying to make sure that we stay square down to the ground, drop the left hip down, pull your tummy in, pull your pelvic floor in, inhale. On your exhale, draw the knee in towards the chest, go as high up towards your hands as you possibly can, and then take the outside of the left foot to the outside of the right leg, and then push your hips back. And just holding that there. Back into center, back into cat pose. Sliding that left knee back under the left hip. And then walking your hands in towards your knees, lift your chest. So you're up onto your shins for me. We're going to go into a really soothing moon salutation from here. So whenever you do a moon salutation, much more soothing for the body. When you do a sun salutation, much more invigorating and energetic. So starting on your shins, place your hands in front of your chest, so back into Anjali Mudra or prayer. And I'm going to invite you to shift your weight onto your left knee, your left shin, and your left foot. So everything moves over to the left-hand side. Start to see if you can lift the right knee in towards your chest. If you can, we'll have a little pause and then a step. So quite difficult to do. So please don't worry if that tiny little movement felt really, really hard. That's okay. Bringing yourself into a lunge for me. So when you come into lunge, we want 90 degrees in this front leg. So your knee stacked on top of your ankle. And then I want you to imagine you're pulling your heel back towards your glute. This is going to help you to activate your hamstring. So even though this is quite a restful posture, we still want to keep the body engaged, still keep it active. Now it's completely up to you whether you want to come super low into your lunge. If you feel like you have the mobility and flexibility, that's fine. But if you do want to stay a little bit higher, that is okay as well. Your foot at the back, either flat or your toes tucked underneath. Again, whatever feels best. You can always use this practice today to be a little bit playful with your body and see what feels best for you. Placing your palms together, arms up and overhead, inhale. So again, that squeeze between palms, squeeze between fingers. Eye gaze to the base of your thumbs and then hold that there, breathe. Try not to hold the breath. Pull your pelvis underneath as well. So sometimes in low lunges or any lunges, people have a tendency to arch and bring that almost into a back bend. If you feel like you can do that, it's fine. But if you're quite tender in your lower back, instead of arching, I'm going to ask you to tuck your pelvis underneath. Big deep breath. Feel free to revisit your lunar breath at any time, tongue on the back of the teeth, and just repeating that TH sound on your exhale. Inhale. As you exhale, drop your fingertips down to the ground. So you've got the left on the left-hand side, the right on the right-hand side. Pulling your pelvis underneath and then keeping the left hand on the ground. Inhale, take the right arm up towards the ceiling into a low twist. Squeeze into your shoulder blade. So the more you squeeze that right shoulder blade back, the more you press down into the left hand, the more you're going to rotate through the top, the thoracic part of your spine. You're going to deepen that twist. If you do want to come a little bit further, you can tuck the back toe underneath, straighten through your left leg, and bring yourself into a high twist. Completely up to you. Eye gaze up to the ceiling if your neck and your head allow it. If not, don't worry, you can look down at the floor, that's absolutely fine. Pressing through the sole of the right foot, pressing down through the palm of the left hand. Just hold that there. Good. Inhale, see if you can go a little bit deeper into your twist. And then exhale, drop the back knee if it's lifted. Drop the right hand. And then we're going to do a big windmill, big circle, and come into a twist. Into a high lunge and a twist. So we've got the left hand reaching forwards. We've got the right hand reaching back. And I want you to see if you can intentionally stretch into both arms. So imagine you're reaching towards one wall, you're reaching towards another, still pressing down through the sole of the right foot. If you want to come a little bit further, inhale. As you exhale, let the right hand come all the way down to the back calf with the left arm reaching up and overhead. Just holding that there. Good, hold that there for 3, 2, and 1. Inhale. Exhale, come all the way down onto the ground, back into cat pose. And then back into extended bird dog. So extending the right leg out to the back. Hold that there for me. So reactivating your glute, reactivating your core. And then see if you can take the left arm off the ground. So we've got the right foot lifted, the left hand, left arm lifted. The whole of the back of the body engaged. So squeeze to the back of your shoulder blade. Squeeze into your right bum cheek. And just starting to activate your posterior chain. Your belly button still pulled in towards your spine. See if you can let that right hip come down towards the ground. And then a really firm press in that hand that's on the floor. Holding it there for 3, 2, and let the left hand come down, the right knee to come down. We're going to go to thread the needle from there. Inhale, take the left arm all the way up to the ceiling, as high and as far back as you can possibly go. As you exhale, the left hand is going to feed through the gap of the right hand, the right knee. So you're dropping down onto the ground, onto the left shoulder and the left ear. Looking up towards the ceiling. If you want to come a little bit further, take your right arm up and overhead. So thread the needle is a super simple posture, but it's an amazing posture for twisting through the body. And then see if you can take your tailbone a little bit higher up towards the sky. Perfect. Take the right hand underneath the right shoulder, press down into the floor, and really gently, really gradually uncurl yourself. So you're like a little flower uncurling, little flower bud, until you're back into cat pose. So even though that's quite a gentle posture, it's still a deep twist. Bring your big toes together, your knees out to the sides of your mat and into extended child's pose. We have your fingers reaching towards the head end of your mat. Your knees out as far as they'll go. Big toes squeezed together. Either place your forehead down on the ground or place the side of your head down on the ground, whatever feels best for you. Now, child's pose is a really good posture to really tune into that sense of letting go. So let yourself completely flop. Scan your body for any tension. Are you holding any tension anywhere? And then just see if you can let your body relax just a tiny little bit more. Is it in the hips? Is it in the soles of the feet? Is it the upper body, the hands? Where can you give yourself that sense of almost floppiness, softness? time during any practice that we do over the next 6 weeks, if you need a second to yourself, child's pose or extended child's pose is the posture that I would recommend you bring yourself down into. It's usually where you feel the most at home in your body. Starting to walk your hands back into your knees, bring your knees back together and lift your hips back high. And we're ready to start again on the opposite side. So arms up and overhead, inhale. Exhale, hands down into heart center, regrounding yourself, resetting yourself back into your practice. Shift your weight over to the right hand side this time, the right knee, right shin, top of the right foot down. So all the weight on the right hand side. Start to see if you can lift your left knee in towards your chest. And then take a little step forward. It's a tricky little posture. So same on this side for your lunges. It's completely up to you how low down you want to come. Sometimes it's actually more beneficial to bring yourself a little bit higher. And again, just concentrate on that tuck underneath of your pelvis. Whenever we do your yoga practices, we're trying to let go of your ego. So sometimes your ego might want to go here, but your body actually really wants you to go up here. It's about tuning into those two different things. Really press down into the sole of your left foot. Inhale, palms together, up and overhead, eye gaze to thumbs. In your lunges, we're creating depth at the bottom, so 90 degrees in this leg if we can, but we're creating length in the upper body. So even though you're reaching up tall into your fingertips, make the body long, try and keep your shoulders down, so you've always got that space between your shoulders and your ears. A little bit of pressure between palms and fingertips. Inhale. And then exhale, let the fingertips fall, framing your left foot, one hand either side. Keeping your right hand down this time, left arm reaches tall. Inhale, look up towards the ceiling and squeeze the shoulder blades together. Really press down into your right hand, rotate through the top of your spine, and just hold that there. Every posture that we're doing this evening, all about encouraging the body, encouraging your emotions, even your energetic field, nervous system, physical bodily systems, everything encouraged to let go. If we want to go higher, tuck the back toe underneath and lift up into your back leg. By squeezing your quad, the big muscle on the front of your leg, that's what's going to help to straighten the back leg as well. Trying not to hold the breath. Anything that's challenging, you'll either hold your breath or you'll really start to increase your breathing rate. So breathe in with intention, slow, deep breath. Inhale, see if you can go a tiny little bit further. Exhale, dropping the back knee and then dropping the left hand. Big windmill, left arm out in front, all the way up to ceiling, and then reaching both sets of fingertips away from each other, adding a twist. With this time, we've got the right arm reaching forward, the left arm reaching back as much as we possibly can, holding that there. Inhale, see if you can go a little bit further, tiny bit further, and then exhale, both hands down. Sweep your left leg back, come back into cat pose. Shoulders over wrists, knees underneath hips, and then extending your left leg into half bird dog. Flexing into your foot and pressing through your heel. Just making sure the hips stay square down to the ground. Belly button still engaged, pelvic floor pulled in, and then see if you can reach out with the right arm, your eye gaze down towards your mat. This time squeezing into the back of the right shoulder blade, squeezing into left glute, keeping the left foot flexed, and then really press down into the palm of the left hand. Really strong bodies engaging your posterior chain. Holding it there for 3, 2, and 1. Hand under shoulder, knee under hip. Inhale, take the right arm up to the ceiling as far as you possibly can. As you exhale, feed your right hand through the gap, drop down onto your shoulder, drop down onto your right ear. In to thread the needle. Again, if we want to go further, taking left arm all the way up and overhead. Still encouraging the body to breathe even though we're in a deep twist. You don't have to hold your breath. Place the left hand underneath the left shoulder first. Little bit of pressure, press down into the floor, really slowly uncurl yourself. Walk your hands a little bit further forwards. Tuck your toes underneath. Bring your knees up and off the floor. Inhale. As you exhale, we're going to come into your first downward facing dog of your practice. So whenever you come into downward facing dog, there's a couple of things for us to take note of. So the first thing is the length of your downward facing dog. So generally people tend to make the downward facing dog way too short. So what I'll encourage you to do is bring your weight forwards, bring yourself into a plank, so you've got your shoulders directly above your wrists, and then exhale and go back into downward facing dog. So the length of your plank is the same as the length of your downward facing dog. So if you ever feel like you need that, it's a really good way to measure it. If you feel like you have to shuffle your feet about a little bit, you know you're probably not quite in the right space. So your hands are shoulder distance, your fingers completely spread out. Make sure you're equal distance of both edges of your mat, so you know you're in the center of your mat. Bring your chin in towards your chest. Your eye gaze is looking towards your knees. Engage through your abdomen, so re-pulling your spine in towards your belly button. Pull your pelvic floor back up and in. And then the last thing that I want you to worry about is whether your heels are down on the ground or not. So again, people force the heels down, but it makes you round through your lower back here. And actually what we're better off creating is lengthen your lower back and lengthen your hamstrings. So if it feels a little bit more comfortable, put a bend in your knees and really concentrate on that lift up of your tailbone. Your tailbone's pointing up towards the ceiling, the crown of your head's pointing down towards the ground. If you do feel like you can go further, you can squeeze into your quads to straighten your legs and then press down into your heels. So it doesn't matter if your heels are not on the floor, we're just giving yourself the sensation of pushing your heels down. Remember, if at any time you need to drop down into child's pose, that's absolutely fine. So our feet are hip distance apart, equal sides of your mat. If you want to release around your lower back a little bit more, just turn your toes in ever so slightly. So big toes slightly turned in, holding that there. Really strong press through hands. The downward facing dog is actually a resting posture, even though it feels quite active. And I promise over time, if you don't feel like it just yet, you will start to feel like it is a resting posture. Take a big deep breath in through your nose. As you exhale, take tiny little steps, walk yourself in towards the head end of your mat until your feet are underneath your hips, and then let yourself flop forward into your first forward fold. So when we come into forward fold, we have our feet hip distance. Again, that slight turning of toes if we want to create a little bit of space and release around the lower back. The tailbone as high as it will go, the crown of your head pointing down towards the floor. Any tension in the back of the neck or the back of the head, just completely let that relax. All the muscles of your face to relax. And if you feel like you need a bend in your knees, that's okay. If you feel like you need to rest your hands on a block, if you've got a yoga block, we can go on a yoga block as well, that's fine. I want you to have a little play around with your forward fold, just shifting your weight forwards and backwards. Maybe even going side to side, taking your torso to the right side, to the left side. Maybe even rolling in your feet and then rolling to the outside edges of your feet. Just tune in, listen to your body. Where's it telling you where it's holding a little bit more tension? Or where does it feel a little bit more free? If you want to take your hand to the opposite elbow, you can do. Give yourself that complete sensation of flopping forward. Really good way to decompress your spine as well. So our legs don't have to be poker straight. That's not the point of this posture, but drawing yourself forwards from your hips and creating length in the backs of your legs. And then letting fingertips relax down towards the ground. Just in front of your big toes, inhale and come into a half lift. So when we come into a half lift, we're pushing your tailbone back and we're pushing the crown of your head forward. So creating length in your spine and trying to create a flat back. Sometimes you feel like you can do that a little bit more easily if you actually place your hands on your shins. So you don't have to be all the way down on the floor, you can be up onto your shins. So if you're like me, you've got a long torso and long arms, but short legs. I can touch the floor, but my back isn't necessarily straight. If I come up onto my shins, it's much easier for me to create a straight spine. So it depends entirely on the anatomy that we're working with. But just holding that there, and then let yourself exhale, come back into your forward fold, take that flop. When you're ready, hands onto hips. Press down through the soles of your feet, so you're engaging all the muscles of your legs. Inhale, leading up with the crown of your head, a flat back as you lift, and then exhale, so you're all the way up to standing. Give yourself a wiggle and a shake. We've been down there for quite a long time. If you feel like you suddenly go a little bit dizzy, it's okay. It's just a shift in your blood pressure, and I promise, once you're up here for a couple of seconds, your blood pressure will stabilize and you'll be fine. So bringing yourself onto the end of your mat, we're going to go into mountain pose from there. I'm just going to turn that around slightly. So coming onto the head end of your mat for me, your feet are hip distance apart. Now, whenever you come into mountain pose, sometimes people think it's a really pointless posture, and it's actually one of the most important ones. So we want to take your feet hip distance apart. And then we're going to pull your pelvis underneath. So something that I always do with my yoga students is to place one hand on the front of your pelvis, one hand on your lower back, and physically move your pelvis forwards and backwards. So then it's easier for you to find where your neutral, your center is. So we want to stack your hips on top of your ankles. We want to stack your heart on top of your hips. And then we want to stack your head on top of your heart. So you're creating a really straight line through your spine. Your chin's parallel to the floor, your nose is pulled in line with your belly button, and your hands are just resting down by your sides. So we're spreading through your collarbones and then letting your hands feel soft. Whenever we come into mountain pose, we do so because it's an opportunity to reconnect back into your body, to reconnect back into your practice. And if your mind has wandered off to something else, which is completely normal, it's just an opportunity to bring it back. So awareness back to your internal world, away from your external world. Just a couple of seconds. Revisiting your lunar breath, that TH sound on your exhale. Just thinking, when was the last time that you let yourself fully tune in to what's happening within you? And then from here, we're going to move into one of my favorite somatic movements. Make this as big as you possibly can. Be as free in this as you possibly can. Whatever it was that you thought of at the beginning that you need to let go, now's your opportunity to really give yourself that sense. Rid it of your nervous system, rid it of your energy field. Let's get it out there. So take a big deep breath in. Reach into your fingertips, stretch up to the ceiling, make your body as long as you possibly can. Big breath in. On your exhale, take a big flop and fall forward. And again, so reaching up into your fingertips, I'm just going to hold on to my headset because it nearly flew off then. Inhale, as you exhale, take a big swing. So all the muscles of your face to feel soft. Make this as big as you possibly can. Inhale, exhale, come all the way down to the ground. I'm going to do a couple with you with no headset. So you're not going to have my voice, but you're going to have me on the video. Ideally, we're going to do 10 of those. So wherever you are, take a big deep breath in. We'll do 2 more. So exhale, big swing. Out through your fingertips, out through the muscles of your face. I'm going to let you do 1 more. Take a big deep breath in. Inhale, exhale, big flop forward, big swing. Inhale, reach up into fingertips. And then bring your hands back into the center of your chest, back into prayer. And let yourself breathe. If you've created a little bit more activity in your heart rate, that's okay. That's the point. But we're just going to use our breath now, intentional breathing, to slow that right down. And if you're somebody that suffers with anxiety, if you feel like you have a lot of stress, if you have anything like panic attacks, anything along those lines, or sometimes you just feel like you just need it. If you've had a really stressful situation, that exercise we just did is a somatic therapy exercise, so not especially yoga. but we like to incorporate lots of different things. If you ever feel like you just need to reset your nervous system, just do that 10 times and I promise you'll feel a little bit better. So coming back onto the end of your mat for me, I'm going to ask you to bring your big toes together, squeeze your knees together and squeeze your thighs together as well into Utkatasana or chair pose. Arms up and overhead to make them straight. Inhale. As you exhale, take a big bend into your knees, squeeze your knees together and squeeze your inner thighs together. I also want to encourage you to squeeze your shoulder blades back. Now, if you're like me again, you're naturally going to want to arch and bow through your lower back. Point your tailbone down towards the ground, so completely different to how we would squat in the gym. So tailbone down towards the floor, that big deep bend in knees and pressing through the soles of your feet. So we've got an even spread of pressure through the balls of your feet, inside, outside edges and into your heels as well. And just holding that there. See if you can come a little bit lower. Really squeezing into thighs, squeezing into knees, squeezing big toes and heels together. Hold that there for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhale, come all the way back to standing. Exhale, hands back into heart center, and just hold that there. Arms up and overhead. Inhale. Exhale back into Utkatasana, number 2. And then if you want to come a little bit further, you can put your hands in front of your chest for me, squeeze your palms, squeeze your fingertips together. I'm just going to hold again onto my headset. And what we're actually going to do is create little steps into your feet. So almost like little running steps. So when you're ready, go for it. And I'm going to do the same thing, count you down from 5. Okay? When we get to the stop, I want you to go from that movement to stillness. 5, 4, 3, 2, and stop. And just breathe, big deep breaths. And just noticing how such a tiny little movement can create all that energy, all that activity in your body. Arms up and overhead. Inhale, number 3. Exhale, big deep bend into the knees. Again, either stay where you are in your chair pose, or you're going to run it out, stomp it out with me for 50. Inhale and exhale. As hard as you possibly can through the balls of your feet. Almost like you're a little kid having a tantrum. Shake it out. The more jiggly, the better. We're going to hold that there for 5, 4, 3, 2, and stop. Big deep breaths. Breathe with intention. Create some depth. Create some length in your breath. Good. One more time. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, Utkatasana number 4. This time, I'm going to encourage you to stay where you are. Either hands up and overhead. Feel free to bring them back into heart center. But I want you to see if you can rise up onto your tiptoes. Please don't worry if you can't. That's okay. Reconnecting your breath, thinking about all those things I said to you at the beginning of your practice. Have a sense of self-compassion. Try not to get frustrated with yourself. Tune into that narrative. How do you communicate with yourself, especially when things are a little bit tricky? If you're on your toes, see if you can rise all the way up without placing your heels down. And bring yourself back into a standing posture. Taking a step onto the end of your mat. If you need to give yourself a wiggle and a shake, feel free. And then we're going to take a big step out to the side for me. So make your stride as long, as wide as you possibly can. And we're going to turn your toes in slightly, moving into a wide forward fold. So make this as far apart as you possibly can. Your toes are going to point forwards and then pressing into the outside edges of your feet. You hear how out of breath I am. Hands onto your hips. Inhale, squeeze your elbows together and lift your chest. Look up slightly. As you exhale, fall forward with a flat spine, leading with your chin. When you get halfway, let your hands come down towards the ground. So keeping your hands underneath your shoulders. If you feel like that's okay, we can then slide the base of your hands in line with your heels. Squeezing your elbows together as well. So when you come down into wide forward fold, you're naturally going to want to probably let your elbows splay out to the sides. Squeeze them in. Squeeze your elbows together. Tailbone lifts up to the ceiling, crown of the head comes down towards the ground. So we've completely inverted your spine. I'm just noticing if your breathing rate's slowing down slightly. The anchor, your stability, is coming from that press into the outside edges of your feet. Any tension in the back of the neck, in the back of the head, just letting that go. And then slide your hands out in front, as far away as from your body as you possibly can. Keep them shoulder distance and spread your fingers out. So it's almost as if the top half of your body is now in a downward facing dog. The bottom half of your body is still in a wide forward fold. Tuck your chin in towards your chest. Pressing through the four corners of your hands. Again, feel free to have a little play around, so shifting your weight forwards, shifting your weight back into your feet, and just finding that point that feels good for you. If you do want to go a little bit further, you're going to take the right hand first and take it over towards the left leg, anywhere on the leg but the knee. See if you can hook your fingers around the outside edge. They're just creating that twist in the middle. Tailbone stays lifted high, still keeping that press through the left palm. And if you really want to go a little bit further, you can also take the left hand, it's hard to do with this on, the left hand over towards the right ankle. Maybe I'll be able to do that. Both hands reset and back into your position of your half downward facing dog, half forward fold, making sure your hands are shoulder distance apart. Tailbone lifts, so always trying to reset yourself before moving on to the other side. This time, inhale, taking the left hand over towards the right leg, hooking your fingertips onto the outside edge, still making sure we're pressing through the outside edges of the feet. And again, if we want to go a little bit further, you can also take the opposite arm to the opposite leg. Revisiting that concept of finding your line between force and effort. So you're forcing your body into a position it doesn't want to go in. Or can we simply put a little bit more effort in? If you need to bend your knees, that's okay. You don't have to keep yourself in a sense of discomfort or a sense of pain. That's not what yoga is all about. Inhale, bringing your hands back into center, back into half downward facing dog and half wide forward fold. And then sliding the base of your hands back underneath your shoulders, back where we started. Inhale, come into a half lift. So straighten through your arms, press down into your palms. And then place your hands on your hips for me. Inhale, lead up with the crown of your head. And take a big step onto the end of your mat. Well done. Give yourself a wiggle and a shake. And of course, if you need to get yourself a little drink, please feel free. Always want to keep you hydrated. And then coming back onto the head end of your mat for me, we're going to go into eagle arms with a forward fold. So taking your left arm across your body first. I'll do this super slow. So left arm across your body. Your right arm's then going to come underneath and then wrap them together like two snakes. Inhale, bring your elbows up in line with your nose, your shoulders down towards the ground. And then as you exhale, round through your spine, tuck your chin down into your chest and let yourself flop forwards. So again, back into that forward fold. Oh, I did panic then, guys. I'm going to add a twist in from here. Unwrap your hands, place your left hand down between both feet. So you've created a tripod between your 2 feet and your left hand. Let your right arm flow out to the side and then all the way up to the ceiling. And again, if you feel like you need to put a little bend in your knees, that's absolutely fine. Good. Inhale, see if you can go a little bit further. Exhale, back into a full forward fold. So replacing your hands back in line with your toes. Inhale, come into a half lift, flatten through your spine. As you exhale, step the left leg back to the foot end of your mat. Keep your knee off the floor so you're in a high lunge position. Press down into the sole of your front foot and come into high lunge, arms up and overhead. So reaching into fingertips, pulling your pelvis underneath, and just hold that there for me. See if you can create as much depth through the front knee as you possibly can. If you want to go a little bit further, twist in towards your right thigh. So you're looking towards your right hip, and then let that right hand drop down to the back of your leg. So just like we did in your low lunges right at the beginning in your moon salutation, holding that there, big deep breaths. So depth in the bottom, length in the top. Good. Arms up and overhead. Inhale, facing the head end of your mat. As you exhale, take a big step in, come back into forward fold. Left foot under left hip, torso down towards the ground. Inhale into half lift, flatten through your spine. Exhale and lower, hands onto hips. Press down through the soles of your feet. Inhale all the way up through the crown of your head. And exhale when you get to the top. Ready to repeat that on the opposite side. The right arm's going to cross the body first this time. So take the right arm across to the left-hand side. The left arm wraps underneath and then wrap them together like two snakes. Inhale, draw your elbows in line with your nose. As you exhale, keep your shoulders down. So even though we're pulling the elbows up high in line with your face, try and pull your shoulders down as much as you possibly can towards the floor. Take a big deep breath in, and you should feel like you can create loads of space across the top of your back there. You can always have a little play around with your breath. Intentionally take it to the top of your back. On your next exhale, rounding through your spine, tuck your chin in towards your chest, elbows in towards the body, and let yourself fall all the way down into a forward fold. Crown of your head down towards the ground. Imagine you breathing up the back of your legs. So as you inhale, draw the breath up through the feet, up through the backs of your legs as you exhale, all the way through the spine and out the top of the head. Unwrap your hands, let your right hand come down towards the ground in between both feet. So a little tripod between your feet and your right hand this time. Left arm floats parallel to the floor. Inhale all the way up to the ceiling. And again, feel free to take that bend into your knees. That's absolutely fine. If you feel like you can straighten your legs, create some space around the backs of your knees. Squeeze into your quad muscles on the front of your legs here. See if you can lift your tailbone a little bit higher. Inhale, see if we can go further still. Exhale, come back into forward fold. Inhale into half lift, flatten your spine. Right foot goes back this time, exhale. Back into a high lunge. Pull your weight forward so you're not overstraining your Achilles at the back. And I want you to press down into this left foot as much as you possibly can. Arms up and overhead, inhale. Into high lunge, exhale, pause and stay where you are, create depth in the front knee. Pull your pelvis underneath so you're really creating space in this hip here. If you want to go further, turn in towards the left thigh. Let the left hand drop to the back of your right leg. And then reaching up tall into left fingertips. Just checking on that left knee, making sure it's pointing forwards over your toes. Good, holding that there for 3, 2, and 1. Back into center. Inhale. As you exhale, big strong step forwards, back into forward fold. The right foot underneath the right hip. Crown of the head down towards the ground. Inhale into half lift. Exhale and lower. Hands onto hips. Press through the soles of your feet. Inhale, leading with your crown all the way up. And then exhale, give yourself a wiggle and a shake. Perfect. So I'm going to invite you to come down towards the ground. So when you're ready, take a little sit down onto the floor. Again, if you feel like you need to get a quick drink, that's absolutely fine. Just extending your feet out in front for me. We'll flex both of your feet. Press your tailbone down and then lifting up tall from the crown of your head again, really creating that nice long straight spine separating through each and every vertebra. We're going to extend the left leg and lift it up towards the ceiling. So you're engaging through your hip, tiny little movement, but actually quite hard to do. So just flexing into both feet, lift up into your leg, and then bring it across the top of your right thigh. So I'm going to take the sole of the foot onto the outside, inhale. As you exhale, turn into the left leg, give yourself a big hug. Looking over your shoulder at the back. Keeping your left hand as close in towards your body as you possibly can. Press into fingertips. That'll help you to straighten up tall through your spine. Inhale. As you exhale, see if you can go a little bit further. Can you give yourself a deeper hug? Pull your thigh in towards your body. Good, and then back into the center. Inhale. Now we have two options. Exhale when you get there. Two options from here. We can either take the sole of this foot onto the inside of the thigh and come into a traditional head to knee pose, or if you want to take the foot all the way across to the opposite hip, that's absolutely fine as well. See what feels best for you. You might feel better almost in a half lotus. So you've got this foot resting on the top of your hip. If not, we can place inside of your foot onto the inside of your thigh. I will let you choose. Just make sure that both sit bones are down on the ground for me. Your tailbone down, your chest is tall. Inhale, whichever option you're going with, and exhale, start to fall forwards. So you're leading with your nose, almost as if you're trying to get your nose onto your big toe. Your spine stays straight. It's not just about rounding through your spine and putting your forehead down onto your leg. If you feel okay, we can wrap your fingers around your big toe. If you still feel okay, we can wrap your hands around the sole of your foot. So you're not pulling on your leg, you're not creating loads of rigidity. It's just almost like a little gentle caress on the bottom of your foot for me. Inhale. As you exhale, see if you can come a little bit further forward and then a little bit further down. So always creating that length first. And we're just going to hold that there. Chin down in towards your chest again. I'm going to keep my head lifted slightly because my mic's going to slide off. Good. Leading with the crown of your head. Inhale. Lift up tall into your chest and exhale. We're going to swap your feet over. So re-extending your leg for me and then lifting up through your toes. Opposite side. So we're on the right hand side now. Lifting your right foot up. Engaging through your hip, try and lift your chest up. You're naturally going to want to lean back. Keep your chest as tall as you possibly can. Straighten your leg as much as you possibly can. You're going to fire up your quad, fire up your hip, and then let that leg cross over the top of the left. Inhale. As you exhale, big turn into the right hand side. Hug your right thigh into your chest, and then look over your shoulder at the back. Both sit bones down on the ground. We use this hand here, bring it as close in towards your body as you possibly can. Press into the floor, and that's going to really help you to lift up tall through your chest. Flexing into your left foot too. So we've not let this leg go completely redundant, keeping it active and flexing into foot. Inhale. As you exhale, see if you can go ever so slightly further into your twist. Imagine your body's like a sponge. When you take the top half one way, the bottom half the other way, you wring everything out that's in the center. Same with your body. And then back into center. Inhale. And exhale. Release your right foot, either to the inside of the left leg or bringing it all the way up and over into your hip joint. Completely up to you. If you're coming into a half lotus, just be sure to let that right knee come down towards the ground. Inhale, leading up through your chest. Exhale, leaning forward, drawing your nose towards your big toe. I want you to imagine you're pushing this heel forward. You're pushing that left heel away from your body, but you're also pulling that left hip back. It's all about creating length around the back of your leg. See if you can soften around the back of your knee. And again, if you want to take hold of your big toe, you can, or we can wrap your hands around the sole of your foot Whatever feels best, as long as we're not really forcing the body to go somewhere that it doesn't want to go to. Inhale, leading up through your heart center. Exhale, slightly lower if you can. And with every breath, we're inching further towards your toe first before we're coming down towards you. Pushing the heel away, pulling back through the hip. Chin tucked in towards chest. Good. Inhale, leading up with the crown of your head. And then exhale into the center. Well done. One more active posture. Extending your feet out in front again, flexing toes. If you pull your toes in towards your shin and you squeeze into your quads, you'll almost create a little space between your heel and the floor. So squeezing into your legs, toes in towards your shins as much as possible. And then letting your legs relax for me. Little bend into your knees. We're going to go into boat pose. So really important to not only lengthen through your muscle, it's really important to strengthen your muscle as well. So a lot of the time when you do yoga, you concentrate so much on the flexibility and the stretch that muscles then can actually start to become a little bit weak because they're overstretched. So we need to balance that out and make sure we keep the strength in there as well. So coming into boat pose, palms facing up towards the ceiling, slightly lean back for me. Now before we do anything else, I want you to pull your tummy, pull your belly button in towards your spine. So straight away, engaging through your core, pull your pelvic floor up as well. Hold that there. That in itself might feel like it's enough for you. If you do want to come a little bit further, inhale. As you exhale, bring your toes up and off the floor. The thigh comes in towards the chest. Now we can either keep this bend in your knee. If you really feel like going for it, you can start to see if you can straighten your legs out. Boat pose is a tricky pose to do, so please don't worry if this feels hard. Your tailbones plug down into the floor, press through your root, lift up through your chest, keep your tummy engaged, and just breathe. Hold that there for me. Good, we're going to hold that there for 5, 4, 3. See if you can take your toes 2 inches higher, and then let yourself relax. Give yourself a big hug and rock from side to side. Good. One more from there, palms facing up. Inhale. Exhale, slightly lean back, engaging through your tummy. Pulling your pelvic floor in, knees into chest, toes slightly lifted off the ground. Hold that there. So still continuing to breathe, don't hold your breath. Revisiting that narrative. We're being positive, encouraging, supporting ourselves. Have we got some compassion there, or being overly harsh? Getting frustrated, being mean to ourselves. Let's switch that around. Holding that there for 5, 4. See if you can go higher. 3, 2, and 1. Drop your feet down and give yourself a little rock from side to side. Well done. So extending feet back out in front for me, flexing into feet, palms facing up towards the ceiling. Inhale. As you exhale, really slowly, really controlled, bringing yourself down onto the ground, one vertebra at a time, resting on the lower back just for a second, and then letting yourself come all the way to the floor with a big flop and just letting yourself breathe. And I just want you to know that every single posture that we do, whenever we do a yoga practice, every posture has a positive impact on your body in some way. It's actually very little to do with the stretch, and it's more about what pressure it's having on different organs, different glands, supporting different hormones. So it isn't just about the stretching, guys. It's about what we're doing internally. Big internal hug. So just let yourself flop. Now, please don't ever skip Shavasana. The people that skip Shavasana are always the people that need Shavasana the most. Just saying. So, before we move into a really quick relaxation, I'm going to ask you to give your legs a good shake. Just as we've done throughout the whole of your practice today, resetting your nervous system, sending that signal to your brain that everything's okay, that you're safe. So when you're ready, I want you to just start shaking your legs. So just a little touch of thigh to thigh on the floor. Let all the muscles in your legs feel floppy, feel soft. And I'm going to count you down as I have done throughout your practice this evening. 5, 4, 3, 2, and just stop. Let yourself breathe. And Again, creating that contrast between activity and stillness. Noticing if you're just like me, that made you take a full deep breath, a big sighing breath. Unconscious impact on your body. So this time, squeeze your hands into little fists for me. We're going to do the same thing, but with upper body. So squeeze the muscles in your hands as hard as you possibly can. And then one at a time, just slam them down on the floor. And do the same thing from there. You can rock yourself shoulder blade as well. As big a movement as you possibly can. I'm going to count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and stop. Let the muscles in your hands relax and release. Just breathe. One more together. We're going to do both together this time, both legs and hands. So take a big deep breath in through your nose as you exhale. This time, hands and legs, whole body, as fast as you possibly can, as much as you possibly can. Get as much energy in there. And I'm going to count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and stop. And just let your body rest. Letting your feet flop out to the sides, let your hands uncurl. Your body to feel completely heavy on your mat. And just noticing the different points of contact that we have between the body and the floor. Your heels and how they're touching the ground. Backs of your thighs. Hips and your glutes on the floor. That's a little space where your lower back is. Top of your back and your shoulders on the floor. Point of contact between the backs of your arms, your forearms, backs of your hands on the floor. That really significant heaviness of the back of your head on the floor. And if we aren't already, revisiting your breath, intentional full deep breaths. A really gentle rise and lower of your belly button. And then just taking a couple of seconds to tune into any sounds that you have around you, whether they're in the room with you, outside of your room, outside of your house, or even ones that are really far away. Just noticing what can you hear right now. Taking your time, take your arms up and overhead and give yourself a full deep stretch. Make your body as long as you possibly can, like you've just woken up in the morning. Really slowly rolling onto your right hand side. Make a little pillow with your hands. I'm just going to ask you to pause there for a second. Really slowly bringing yourself back up to a meditation posture. Something really important from here, I want you to keep that really slow, steady pace. So don't feel like you have to spring up, you don't have to rush up, that's okay. Nice and slowly. So we always do a very soothing or a more soothing practice on a full moon, because it's actually the time of one of the times of the month where you're more likely to get injuries because of the impact that the moon has on the water in your body. So it's always better to do something a little bit more soothing. So however you feel best in your meditation posture, again, whether that is cross-legged, might be on the cushion, might be completely different to how we started, and that's okay. And then I'm going to invite you to rub your hands together as fast as you possibly can. So you're just creating a little bit of heat between your hands for me. And then just placing your hands over your eyes. Not too much pressure and not too much force. Just noticing the feeling of your hands all around the sockets of your eyes. So noticing the darkness and the pressure and just taking all of that in. Signifying that winter, all those things that we're going to let ourselves, give ourselves permission to let go of. Take a big deep breath in through your nose. Exhale out through your mouth, let your hands release out to the sides, reach into your fingertips. So fully open, fully receptive. Just letting all that light, all that hope, all those bright times ahead, the spring, be open, receptive, let it in. Inhale. And exhale, bringing your hands into heart center. So we always finish our practice by bringing our thumbs to the space between our eyebrows towards our third eye chakra. So all of the wisdom and all of the light in me welcomes all of the light and the wisdom in you. And then bringing your hands down into the center of your chest in front of your Anahata chakra. And all of the love and compassion in me acknowledges all of the love and the compassion in you. And then we bow forward and say namaste to each other. Namaste. Now, I hope everybody feels okay. They're always a little bit strange whenever we do the first one. What I'd like to encourage you to do this evening is maintain that sense of stillness, that sense of calm or soothing as much as you possibly can. If you can, I'd have a nice warm shower or a nice hot bath and get yourself to bed nice and early. Please make sure you drink plenty of water tonight as well. Whenever you do a full moon practice, lots of twists, you're having a really deep impact on all of your detox organs. So your liver, your kidneys, everything that helps to clear your body out. So everything's going to be working a little bit more this evening probably. If your tummy is a little bit more active or you feel like you need to go to the toilet a little bit more, that is completely normal. In fact, it's a great thing because it means everything we've done has had a really positive impact. So please make sure you drink plenty of water tonight.